Are you thinking about moving to St. Petersburg, Florida? Well, whether you're relocating from out of state, looking for a lifestyle upgrade, or just curious about what it's really like to live here, today I'm breaking down the real pros and cons of living in St. Pete. I'm Jeffrey with Living in St. Pete, Florida, and we help people every day make a smooth, confident transition into Pinellas County. So without further ado, let's get into it. Pro number one is the lifestyle here is laid back, but still very active. St. Pete has this really unique rhythm. It's equal parts relaxed beach town and energized urban lifestyle. This is one of those things that you'll definitely notice right away. Like, people actually use their mornings here. It's not uncommon at all to start your day with a sunrise paddleboard through Coffee Pot Bayou, kind of, dodging around the dolphins, or to join a free yoga class at North Straub Park with the bay breeze going through your hair. Then you might settle into like a work session at a local cafe like Bandit Coffee Company or Black Crow, where remote workers sip cold brew next to retirees reading the paper, and everyone seems to be wearing flip-flops or sneakers. And then when it's time to unwind, the options are endless. You can grab a rooftop drink at the Canopy, which overlooks Tampa Bay, or you can join a casual volleyball game at North Shore Beach, or you can meet friends for a sunset picnic at Paso Grill. And the best part of all of this is here, none of it feels forced. People here really do want to be outside, they want to connect, and they want to slow down without stopping. The vibe here is very wellness forward. There's lots of acai bowls, outdoor workout spots, and you'll see a lot of people like walking their dog to breweries, but in an effortless, not too polished way. Like, yeah, someone might wake up and do some CrossFit at 7 a.m. at a park here, but they're also down for some craft beer and live music that night at Green Bench or Three Daughters. So whether you're an early riser, a sunset chaser, or someone who just works hard and plays outside harder, St. Pete definitely supports that lifestyle year round. Con number one is the heat and the humidity are real. So let's be real, Florida summers are no joke, and St. Pete is no exception. So pretty much from June through late September, the humidity here is next level. Your sunglasses are gonna fog up the second you leave the house, your clothes are gonna stick to you by 10 a.m., and your hair is definitely gonna have its own weather system itself. So for newcomers from dry or cooler climates, it's definitely a real adjustment, especially at first, but you do adjust and it quickly becomes your new normal and something that's just a day-to-day part of living where you live. And then there's the daily thunderstorm cycle, which is around 2 or 3 p.m. like clockwork. You're gonna see some clouds roll in off of the Gulf. You get like 20 to 40 minutes of a pretty torrential downpour, maybe some lightning, and then boom, it's sunshine again. Locals get used to kind of planning around it. Outdoor workouts in the morning, errands done before the skies open it up. It's also a time where your electric bill will spike in the summer. With AC running full blast 24/7, even energy efficient homes will feel the pinch in the summer months. If you're coming from a northern state where you're used to turning off the AC at night, that is not happening here in August. Some people love the tropical feel, and the heat means more beach days and lush landscaping. But if you're not a fan of sweating just from bringing in your groceries, St. Pete summers might surprise you and may not be for you. But the good news is that fall, winter, and spring are glorious. It is not uncommon to eat Thanksgiving dinner on the patio or wear a t-shirt on Christmas morning. But to get to that, you've got to survive the sweaty season first. For pro number two, let's talk about how this is a coastal living lifestyle without the crazy price tag yet. One of the biggest reasons people are drawn to St. Pete is this: you can still live near the water without being a multi-millionaire. It's that sweet spot of coastal charm and real-world affordability, at least in this moment of time, especially compared to places like Miami, Naples, or even Sarasota just to our south. St. Pete is a steal. We're talking about homes on canals like in Coquina Key, or some bayfront condos downtown where you can walk to restaurants and watch the sunrise over Tampa Bay, all at a fraction of what you'd pay in South Florida. You'll also find historic craftsman bungalows in the Old Northeast, cute pastel-colored mid-century homes in Lakewood Estates, and townhomes in Grand Central that give you walkability and style without the multi-million-dollar price tag. For out-of-towners, especially from cities like New York, Chicago, or LA, the prices here feel like a pleasant shock or a pretty big surprise. We've had buyers come down expecting to be priced out of the market and end up finding a move-in ready home just minutes from the beach that's well within their budget. And even with all the growth that's happening here, property taxes are lower than in many northern states, and there's no state income tax here in Florida, which can definitely make a huge difference for a lot of remote workers, retirees, or business owners relocating here. But let's be clear, St. Pete definitely isn't cheap anymore. The secret's definitely out and prices have climbed. But compared to a lot of these other coastal cities that offer the same mix of waterfront living, arts, restaurants, and livability, you are still getting major value here in St. Pete, Florida, at least for the time being. So for con number 2, let's talk about those rising housing costs, and we'll talk about competition. So while St. Pete is still more affordable than some of those other Florida hotspots, it is not immune to the pressure of a growing city. So housing prices here have continued to rise. Over the past few years, demand has absolutely skyrocketed, especially in popular neighborhoods like the Old Northeast, Crescent Lake, Euclid, St. Paul, and Kenwood. These areas offer charm, walkability, and that local St. Pete feel that buyers are chasing when they come here, which means they rarely stay in the market long. It's not uncommon to see desirable homes here getting multiple offers within a few days, sometimes over asking price, especially if they're move-in ready and located close to downtown, the water, or in a top-rated school area. And with limited inventory, particularly for single-family homes under $600,000, the competition can be fierce. But the good news is there are still smart ways to buy or rent here. You just need the right strategy, and that's where having a local expert comes in. At Clark Realty, we know which pockets are heating up, where you can still find value and how to make your offer stand out without blowing your budget. So yes, competition is real, but if you're proactive, prepared, and plugged in, you can absolutely still win in this market. Pro number 3 is there is a neighborhood for every lifestyle here. One of the best things about living in St. Pete is this: there really is a neighborhood for everybody. So whether you're a young professional, a growing family, an artist, a retiree, or somewhere in between, there's definitely a corner of this city that feels like it was made just for you. If you love historic homes, front porch hangouts, and an artsy vibe, you're gonna absolutely fall in love with historic Kenwood. You can think 1920s craftsman bungalows, local galleries, and neighbors who host porch parties and know your dog's name. If you're looking for energy, entertainment, and walkability, you could try the Edge District or Grand Central District. These are areas packed with indie restaurants, vintage shops, cocktail bars. You can literally leave your car parked for days and never run out of places to explore just by walking. If your pace is a little more peaceful, but you still want to be near the action, you could check out Snell Isle with its gorgeous waterfront homes, lush landscaping, and quick access to downtown. Or you could head to Shore Acres, which is a neighborhood that feels like a quiet suburb, but sits just minutes away from the city center and top-rated schools. If you prefer nature and parks, Crescent Lake offers walkable streets and a scenic Central Park that's always buzzing with joggers, kids, and weekday or weekend yoga. If you want something quirky and coastal, you can go check out Coquina Key. The bottom line is St. Pete isn't a one-size-fits-all city. It's a patchwork of micro-communities, each with its own look, feel, and lifestyle. And finding the right one is where we come in, so feel free to reach out to us at any of the information below, and my team and I would love to help you. For con number 3, let's talk about flood zones and insurance costs. And one thing a lot of newcomers don't realize is that living near the water comes with more than just great views. It comes with certain risks and responsibilities too. And in St. Pete, that usually means dealing with flood zones and rising insurance costs. Because we're a coastal city with low elevation in many areas, flood risk is a real factor when buying a home here. There's neighborhoods like Shore Acres, Coquina Key, and parts of Snell Isle, and even some blocks of the old Southeast that are in designated special flood hazard areas. And that means if you're financing a home in these zones, your lender is going to require that you obtain flood insurance. And here's where it gets tricky. Due to recent FEMA updates and Risk Rating 2.0, many homeowners have seen their flood insurance premiums increase, sometimes pretty significantly. Even if a home hasn't flooded before, its elevation, its distance to the water, or its construction year now play a much larger role in the pricing of flood insurance. And beyond flood insurance, standard homeowners insurance in Florida has also gotten more expensive across the board thanks to factors like storms, litigation costs, and carrier exits. If you combine the two, the monthly housing costs can jump more than some buyers expect if they're coming from states where natural disaster risk is a lot lower. But don't let that scare you off. It just means you need to go in informed. You need to work with a local team of agents who understands flood maps, elevation certificates, and mitigation strategies like adding flood vents or raising a property that can help you find the right home without surprises. We always walk our buyers through what flood zones really mean, not just for safety, but for your budget and your long-term peace of mind. And of course, there's always areas available in our city that don't require any flood insurance, have not flooded in the recent storms, if it's just something you didn't want to deal with in the first place. Either way, we can help you find whatever's best for you. Pro number 4 is we have local culture, art, and events all year here in St. Petersburg. If you're someone who thrives on local energy, creativity, and community events, you're gonna absolutely love living in St. Pete. The city isn't just scenic, it's vibrant, and there's definitely a reason why people call it the Sunshine City with soul. You'll see it the moment you drive down Central Avenue, where nearly every block bursts with colorful murals. St. Pete is home to Shine Mural Festival, which is an annual event that brings artists from around the globe to transform buildings into massive works of public art. But it's not just street art here. We also have artist collectives, gallery crawls, and studio tours in places like the Warehouse Arts District and the Arts Exchange. Local creatives here sell everything from pottery to pressed flowers to hand-printed teas, and you'll see their work featured everywhere, even on local beer cans. And when it comes to events, there's always something going on basically every weekend. You've got Localtopia in February, which is St. Pete's biggest indie business fest. You've got the Saturday morning markets, which is year-round in downtown St. Pete. You got the indie flea market every month at different venues like the St. Pete Pier or the Factory. And you've got things like the Mainsail Art Festival, the Reggae Rise Up, Shine After Dark, Tampa Bay Blues Fest, and many other events for someone who likes to get out and enjoy things in their city. Con number 4 is tourist season traffic and parking. Let's talk about something locals know all too well, tourist season. From December through about April, St. Pete definitely completely transforms. The snowbirds arrive, festivals ramp up, and suddenly the quiet street or the hidden parking spot you love is not so hidden anymore. It's not gridlock like Miami or LA, but you'll definitely notice the difference. Beach routes like Gulf Boulevard and access roads to spots like Paso Grill, Treasure Island, or Fort DeSoto will get backed up a lot faster in these months, especially on weekends or sunny holidays. Downtown gets its own version of busy as well. Finding a spot on Beach Drive, Central Avenue, or near the St. Pete Pier can turn into a real test of patience, especially if there's a concert at Vinoy Park, a Rays game, or something big happening at the Mahaffey Theater. So that said, it's still totally manageable with a little strategy. Many locals like to use the Sunrunner, which is our new bus rapid transit line between downtown and the beach, or you can park in city garages and walk the few extra blocks. Some neighborhoods even set up residential parking permits to keep things sane. So yes, the tourist season brings traffic, longer waits, and tighter parking, but it's also just a sign of how much the city has to offer. So if you plan ahead, embrace a little flexibility, you'll still enjoy every bit of what St. Pete has to offer. Pro number 5 is access to nature and outdoor adventures. If you're the kind of person who just feels better outside, you are going to thrive in St. Pete. This isn't just a beach town, it is an outdoor playground packed with natural beauty, wildlife, and low-key adventures that are just minutes from your front door. For starters, let's talk about Weedon Island Preserve, which is definitely one of my personal favorites and a local favorite for kayaking, paddleboarding, and really just exploring through these gorgeous mangrove tunnels. You'll spot manatees, mullets jumping through the air, and even occasionally a little baby shark will swim by, but don't worry, they're small and they're friendly. There's also a very scenic boardwalk trail and a 45-foot observation tower with various views of Tampa Bay. Absolutely stunning. There's also an area called Boyd Hill Nature Preserve, which honestly feels like stepping into a whole other part of Florida. You'll find miles of shaded trails, native wildlife like gopher tortoises and armadillos, and even live birds of prey at the Raptor Sanctuary. It's great for families, photographers, or really anyone craving a nature break without needing to leave the city. And if you want to feel like you're really getting away, you can catch the ferry from downtown Marina to Egmont Key, which is a secluded island with crystal clear water, a historic lighthouse, and some of the absolute best shelling in our entire area, and that's truly saying something. There's no roads, no cars, just trails and beaches. It's an absolutely perfect escape. And of course, there's always just the simple joy of seeing dolphins swim past the seawall on your morning walk by Coffee Pot Bayou, or from your kayak off of Coquina Key. For locals, that kind of wildlife sighting is just normal, but at the same time, absolutely beautiful every time you experience it. Plus, with the Pinellas Trail running right through the city, you can bike, run, or skate all the way up to Tarpon Springs if you want, or just hit your favorite local breweries and coffee shops along the way. In short, living in St. Pete means living outside and connecting with nature. So whether you're into peaceful solo hikes or salty sunset paddles, the nature is never that far away here in St. Petersburg. Con number 5 is going to be the limited public transportation. So let's be honest, if you're moving to St. Pete from a city with subways, a light rail, or an extensive public transportation system, you might feel a little underwhelmed coming to St. Pete. While we do have the PSTA, the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, buses, and the Sunrunner, which connects downtown to the beach, public transportation overall is still pretty limited, especially once you leave the urban core of downtown St. Petersburg. The Sunrunner is absolutely a great addition. It's a clean, modern, rapid bus line that runs from downtown St. Pete through Grand Central and out to St. Pete Beach. With dedicated lanes and frequent service, it's really great for tourists, day trippers, and locals who want to try to avoid beach parking and headaches. But once you're off that line, things can get a little trickier if you're looking to rely on public transportation. The broader PSTA bus system covers a lot of ground, but routes can be infrequent or time-consuming, especially in neighborhoods farther from downtown like Shore Acres, Jungle Terrace, or Lakewood Estates. So if you live or work outside of those main corridors, relying on bus alone, it's going to be pretty tough for you. There's also the Looper Trolley, which runs for free around the downtown loop and Pier District, which is great for events, bar hopping, or avoiding pricey downtown parking. But for day-to-day errands, commuting, or getting around reliably, most of St. Pete's residents still depend on their cars. And if you don't drive, your lifestyle and housing options can be a bit more limited unless you live in downtown St. Pete or near a Sunrunner stop. That said, the city is definitely getting better about things like bike lanes, pedestrian walkways, and general transit planning, but it's not quite there yet. So if you're relocating from New York, DC, or even parts of California, that is definitely something to factor into your decision. In short, it's a beautiful city, lots to explore, but don't ditch your car just yet. Pro number 6 is downtown St. Pete is actually livable. Downtown St. Pete isn't just a place you visit, it's a place that people can actually live, thrive, and call home. It's evolved into one of Florida's most walkable and vibrant urban neighborhoods where everything you need is just steps away. Here you've got beautiful parks like Stroud Park and Deming's Landing right on the water, perfect for morning walks, dog outings, or just relaxing with a view of the beautiful Tampa Bay. Coffee lovers like myself will feel spoiled with local favorites like Intermezzo Coffee and Cocktails, Black Crow Coffee, and Bodega, offering everything from espresso to craft cocktails. And yeah, I mean, sometimes both in one visit. We're not judging. If you need to work out, downtown has great yoga studios, bar classes, and gyms nestled between breweries and boutique shops, so your healthy lifestyle can fit naturally into your daily routine. If you're grocery shopping, you can hit Fresh Market, Whole Foods, or The Well, or even some smaller specialty stores with local produce and arts and goods, all without hopping in the car. And when the sun sets, the vibe shifts but stays lively. There's rooftop bars like the Canopy or the Birchwood that give you panoramic views, amazing craft cocktails, and really great live music that locals swear by. And whether you're living in a sleek high-rise condo with bay views or charming 1920s brick apartment just off Central Avenue, downtown feels accessible, alive, and genuinely livable, not just like a tourist hotspot. In fact, it's become one of the most sought-after neighborhoods in the region because it blends that urban convenience with that easygoing St. Pete vibe that a lot of people have come to really appreciate. Con number 6 is going to be the storm season stress. So if you're new to Florida, hurricane season can feel like a whole new lifestyle. Running pretty much from June through November, it's just a part of living in St. Pete that you can't ignore. And while major hurricanes don't hit here every year, the threat is real enough that preparation does become routine. So come June, you'll start noticing stores stocking up on things like batteries, bottled water, and plywood, and locals quietly checking their emergency kits. You'll want to make sure that you know your evacuation zone, which is important because parts of St. Pete, especially the low-lying neighborhoods like Shore Acres, Coquina Key, and portions of South St. Pete, can be vulnerable to storm surge and flooding. The local government sends out regular alerts, and many residents subscribe to the Pinellas County emergency notifications or use apps to track the storms as they happen. Watching the weather radar, refreshing news sites, and adjusting weekend plans depending on the forecast quickly becomes second nature. So yes, storm season is a part of life in St. Pete, but it's also a time when the city comes together, and with the right prep and mindset, it's absolutely manageable. So is St. Pete perfect? Not exactly, but for so many people, the benefits far outweigh the challenges, and I'm definitely one of those people. It's a city full of charm, energy, sunshine, and a genuine sense of community. If you're thinking about making the move, we're here to help you find the right neighborhood, the perfect home, and a lifestyle that fits you. This channel is all about helping you decide if St. Pete is the right place for your next chapter. If you have any questions about relocating, or if you just want to learn more about life here, my team and I at Clark Realty would love to assist you. So thank you so much for watching. Drop your questions, thoughts, and your own pros and cons in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe for more insider tips and videos about living in St. Pete, and we'll see you in the next one.